Greetings, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Human Condition from the Sitting Position. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of concepts that we don't hear very often in Zen Buddhism, and I don't talk about very often on this channel. Notions of the sacred and the idea of a blessing.
Greetings, friends. Sorry for the interruption. This is future editor Jack coming at you live from the Donau Canal here in Prater Park. It's a beautiful day. Sorry to interrupt the video before we get started. I just want to say this is not, in fact, an hour and 38 plus minute video. Here's what happened. This is a video about blessings. And as I was making this video, I began to feel very blessed by the people who are supporting me over on Patreon, which caused me to embark upon a completely Sisyphean project. But I did it. At the end of this video, you can see in the chapter markings in the video description where to skip to, etc., etc. At the end of this video, majority of this video, an hour plus of this video is just me reading out the names of all of my paying patrons and saying something about them. So if you're a patron, you can skip to the end of this video if you want, and you're going to find your name in there somewhere. It was a crazy project. I labeled your name, so I've used the editing tool in Mac to put your name there, and I've said something about you, and I've tried to somebody's walking by, I always get shy. I've tried to say something about every single person. I held your name in my mind, and I tried to say something nice about you on video, and then I wrote something about you in the title in script as I was speaking right there. So anyway, skip to the end of this for that. Patrons, thank you. This video is for you.
And the reason this is on my mind is because I had a moment the other day in Prater Park where I was sitting with my girlfriend who's been having a lot of troubles. She had some hip displacement, and then she went into the orthopedic surgeon and discovered that she's got scoliosis in her spine. It's a lot worse than she had thought. So she's been having like physical, structural, foundational problems, and you know how this is. Then the physical therapist says, "Hey, take some of these muscle relaxants." My girl don't do no pills, don't smoke no dope, ain't injecting nothing, snorting zero, smoking zilch. She don't do diddly squat in terms of substances, right? So she comes back from the physical therapist and is like, "Hey, gave me some of these. It's not an opiate, but it was some kind of muscle relaxant." And I was already, I'm Googling it. She's like, "Don't Google it. Don't ruin it for me. I'm going to do exactly what he said." She did exactly what he said. She took these muscle relaxants, supposed to help her situation. And then it made her face break out in a rash. And she was really upset. We were sitting in the park in silence together, having a nice day, with the weight of these physical challenges on her shoulders and the secondary weight of them on mine. And I was reading this book, Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. Brief detour into Marilynne Robinson. Marilynne Robinson, if you haven't heard of her, she's a Christian who writes fiction as well as essays. She was very famous a few years back because she interviewed Barack Obama. And she wrote this book, Gilead, I think it was like 2004 or 5 maybe. And it won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, and it won the National Book Critics Circle Award. It's a slowly paced, very contemplative, thoughtful, character-driven novel about a preacher who is writing a book for his young boy. He's writing thoughts down for his young boy, whom he will not see grow old. The boy is 7 or so, and the preacher is 70. So he's like, "Young boy, I'm going to tell you about my life." And he does it. And it's a very beautiful, wistful story, novel that's like infused with this biblical, I don't know how to put it, wisdom And it's also funny. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's old-fashioned, but in a way that's self-aware. And so I'm appreciating this book. And I was reading it in the park the other day. And there's a scene in this book, it has to do with blessings, and the sacred, that's what we're going with this. There's a scene in this book where the pastor is talking about how when he was a young boy and he and his siblings blessed this litter of cats, right? So he's blessing these cats, and here's what he says. I'm going to read this to you because if nothing else, it's a beautiful paragraph. He says, I still remember how those warm little brows, the brows of the cat, I still remember how those warm little brows felt under the palm of my hand. Everyone has petted a cat, but to touch one like that with the pure intention of blessing it is a very different thing. It stays in the mind. For years, we, meaning him and his siblings, we would wonder what, from a cosmic viewpoint, we had done to them. It still seems to me to be a real question. There is a reality in blessing, which I take baptism to be, primarily. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. And there is a power in that. I have felt it pass through me, so to speak. The sensation is of really knowing a creature. I mean, really feeling its mysterious life and your own mysterious life at the same time. And then he's talking to his son, and he's in this is, as I said, he's writing this to his son, who will read it later in life. And he says, I don't wish to be urging the ministry on you, but there are some advantages to it that you might not know how to take account of if I did not point them out. Then he says, not that you have to be a minister to confer a blessing. You are simply much more likely to find yourself in that position. I mean, the sentences that really struck me here, I want to read them for you again, because there's a lot in here, but the sentences that really struck me were, there is a reality in blessing. It doesn't enhance sacredness, but it acknowledges it. So I read this passage to my girlfriend. This is us here. I read this passage to my girlfriend, and it really affected her too. And we kind of sat there in silence in the park for a little bit, and this memory was moving through me. Couple memories. I'm going to share them both with you in a little bit. And I told my girlfriend about it. It was a time when I was called upon to, as a Zen priest, to make a blessing. And I tried to explain to her what that experience was like, the nuts and bolts of it. And I was comparing how I think of what happened during that experience to how Marilynne Robinson describes a blessing here. And there was something so totally right on the money with how she described blessings, and also something that was sort of missing from it. I felt something was missing from it. And then my girlfriend said, she said, well, could you bless my back? I said this to me, and I'm thinking, I thought like, no, I can't. You can't, how can I put this? You can't bless someone you love. That was what I was thinking. And I just kept thinking of how many Zen teachers have gotten themselves into trouble by probably manifesting an energy that is silent and sacred, and the intimacy of a blessing, and then it got this sort of mucky, and suddenly the guy is committing sexual misconduct. And I thought about how these roles are separate, intimate partner and one who bestows blessings. And I thought about how it really doesn't feel right to do that sort of thing unless you got your robes on. You need like the whole support of a 2,600-year-old tradition at your back when you lay your hand on someone. But she's kind of experimental, and I was kind of wanted to put my notions about Zen blessings to the test, so she laid down, and I just kind of touched her back, and I wouldn't consider that a blessing because, again, I don't really think one can bless one's loved one necessarily. But let's put all that topic aside because this idea of the sacred and of blessings and of a kind of silent, expansive, capacious, all-embracing capital I intimacy, they're all kind of in this same theme today that I want to talk about and share with you. And just to give away the core of this teaching on blessings, I think that from a Zen perspective, to put it all in a nutshell, to pay attention, to pay full attention to something is to, in a sense, bless it. Back when I was a monk at the monastery, I got a call from a woman who was down the hill in Upland at the hospital. And she said, my husband is dying, and I would like somebody to come down from the monastery and basically bless him as he dies. And I said, I'm going to find somebody who will do that for you. And I hung up. And I got on the phone and I started calling around because I did not feel up to this task. And I was straight up going to shovel it off onto somebody else. Well, I couldn't find anybody. So then I did the next best thing, which was I started calling around to different senior Oshos or priests in my lineage and asking them, what do you do in this situation? You know, I wanted a Hoshiki Bambai level exactitude, okay? So the Hoshiki Bambai is this big, huge, like, wabi-sabi, cockamamie collection of photocopied notes and ideas and, like, almost journalistic scribblings that various monks and head monks and densus and shikas made over the years at the monastery about certain ceremonies. So Roshi, our teacher, was always changing the ceremonies around. And so people would make notes. And the Hoshiki Bambai was a collection of all these notes. It was this massive volume of like esoteric scribblings from all these different monks, and also very practical scribblings, like during the Hanamatsuri ceremony you come around and you pour the water on the Buddha's head, there should be this many flowers, etc. So it was over the years all of us trying to sort of nail down what the rituals were, but my teacher was always changing the rituals on us. And this actually became an issue later on when we started working with different Japanese roshis, and they're like, no, the rituals are very clear. The form is very clear. But in fact, with our teacher, it wasn't, because he was teaching us to manifest the spirit of the ritual. And so he changed the ingredients of the ritual. He changed the footwork of the rituals. He changed the bows. He changed where you went and why you went there around the Butsudan altar, etc. every time. So we had to be present, so we couldn't just phone it in. My point is, I got a bunch of different ideas from a bunch of different priests about how to act on a deathbed. Nobody had the same script for me to do. Nobody said you do the Heart Sutra, then you do the Lotus Sutra, then you make the Our Father in front of their head. Whatever, nothing. It was just I had to do it myself, right? I realized that at a certain point, and it was like, okay, here we go. So I went down the mountain. It was a really hot summer, like blisteringly hot summer day. Someone had stolen my computer from my car earlier that day. It had all my writing on it. I was in kind of a state of crisis. I show up sweating at this, wasn't even a hospital. It was hospice, okay? And I go into the bathroom. I'm like pouring. You know how that is when it feels like the humidity is like crushing you into a ball of pure, stinking salt water? That's what I felt like in the bathroom at the hospice, putting on my layers and layers of my robes. You put on your karomo, you put on your hakama skirt, then you put on your kimono, and then you put on my karomo, then I put on my kimono, then I put on my hakama, then I put on my karomo, then I put on my rakasu, then I tie my osho belt, right? And it's like, okay, I got the accoutrement, my white collar, and look at myself in the mirror. Thankfully, I'd shaved. It's like, I'm a kid. I was like in my 30s, late 30s. I did not feel up for this task. I mean, God bless my teacher and God bless the Zen tradition. They don't give you any crutches, you know? So I had an idea in mind what I wanted to, what I would do. So I went out into the room and I meet the woman whose husband is dying, and she's a fucking kid. I mean, she was like, I think she was from, I think she was, I don't know, she was from some country in Asia. It wasn't Japan, it wasn't China. I forget exactly where it was. But they practiced Buddhism in her family. She was so young. And then I looked at her husband, and he was dying. He just had this look on his face. I'll never forget his face. His eyes were popping out of his head, and his mouth was open. It was just open. And I'm sorry to have to say, he had a mask of horror. He was dying, and he would blink. And she had a sponge on a stick and a glass of water. And she would dab it in his mouth, and he couldn't or wouldn't close his mouth. So this guy is there, you know, and I don't know if he wants me there. I don't know what exactly what condition he's in. He's probably on a lot of morphine. So I sat down, and I had my drum, and I had my bell, which was like this bell here. And, you know, I took my fucking seat in my robes, you know, and I said, okay, we're going to chant the Heart Sutra. And I gave her the Heart Sutra. We're going to chant it in the Japanese mispronunciation of the Chinese mispronunciation of the Sanskrit mispronunciation of the original Pali. I'll go slow. You just say the words. You just put yourself into the words. We're going to say them together, you know. So we did that, and then we might have done a longer chant after that. We didn't go through the whole chant book. I initially thought we might go through the whole chant book. That would have been way too much. So we went through some of the chants. So then after we went through the chants, I talked a little bit to the wife. We talked a little bit about her husband, and then she wanted me to bless him, and so my memory, which is a bit fuzzy on this, was just that I reached out and I touched him, and I touched that body, you know. I think I had him like on the shoulder and maybe on his side, and I just touched him, and I did what my teacher did during koan practice. And I did what I'd seen him do so many other times, which I'll talk about in a bit. And I knew what he was doing. I mean, I knew I can't do it, but I knew what he was doing. And you just got out of my way and just felt this guy. And it was like Marilynne Robinson said, it was like acknowledging the sacred. But see, that's what Christians do. They describe. Saying a blessing is acknowledging the sacred is an accurate description. And she describes it so well. She says, like, what's sacred in him and what's sacred in me is one sacredness. Say the same sacredness, with no sick body, no healthy body, no one blessing and no one being blessed. It's just one sacred situation. That's a good description. But what I appreciate about the Zen practice is it's about manifesting a principle or putting the principle into practice. And so, like I said, I thought about Marilynne Robinson's quote for a long time, and it came to me days later. You bless by paying attention. What you pay full attention to it is a kind of blessing. And so in that moment, when I had this guy, and I was touching him, that's what I felt like. I was paying him as complete attention as I possibly could. And it had a particular flavor to it. I mean, when I was touching my girlfriend in the park after she said bless me, it was more just an intimate touch. This was different. I had my robes on with this guy because, like I said, you don't touch someone on their deathbed in a t-shirt, in shorts. I mean, you can. Maybe you're on a battlefield or something and something happens. I don't know, man. This is over my pay grade. But with this guy, it was like, it was different. And so we were like that for a moment, and I really, 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 really gave that guy as much as I could, as much as could possibly be given to a human being in that situation from one to another. That's what happened. And that's why she seems a little bit happy. This is interesting. She, and then I came, out of this thing, and then she was like, oh, thanks. And she was like, yeah, shows me to the door. She's like, everything's over. Good, thanks. That's what I wanted you for. She slips like $100 in my hand and throws me right out the door. And the situation was over. She got what she paid for, I guess. So that was my instance as a Zen priest of having to do a blessing within a certain context. It's the only time I've ever had to do that. But I'd seen my teacher do it time after time after time. I never heard my teacher use words like sacred or blessing or paying attention. Actually, he never laid anything out clearly and definitively. A map to the treasure chest never happened. Again and again and again, he would demonstrate. The very last time we ever took him out of his little apartment at the Rinzai-ji Zen Temple in Los Angeles. It was 2 weeks before he died. So we had a friend of the Sangha. She had a husband. Interesting guy. His family had been really wealthy somehow. He was French. They lived in, I don't know, somewhere rich. It was like Malibu. And they had a big, like really nice house up on a hill, and it was overlooking the ocean. And the guy had Renoirs in his house. I think they had sold them all, but he had some really expensive paintings that over the years were handed down through his family. He was a very sophisticated guy. He was a filmmaker. He wrote for the Carrefours du Cinema. I don't know how you pronounce that. The one that Godard wrote for and Truffaut wrote for, the famous French film magazine. And he had done a documentary on Clint Eastwood, and they were friends. And one day, she calls us up and she says, my husband has cancer and he's got 3 weeks to live. And she was right. He died 3 weeks later. So, hey, guess what? 3 weeks from now, we could all be dead from cancer. Offer your thanks for the life we have now. So Roshi says, I must go. I must go. So he was really old and sick at the time. Nonetheless, we went through talk about ritual. We went through the rituals of dressing him, of lifting him, of putting him in his electric chair and making go down the staircase, loading him into his wheelchair, then taking him out through the zendo into the courtyard at the temple, lifting him up again, gently loading him into the car. This dude is fragile. He's 107 years old. He has zero meat on his bones. You move him the wrong way, his hip snaps, his leg breaks. If he falls, it's over. So, oh God, Roshi. Okay, so we load him into the car. We got to make sure he's comfortable in the seat because it's a long drive from West Adams in Los Angeles down the 10 freeway to the Pacific Coast Highway out to this place in Malibu. Finally, we arrive there, and he's on his deathbed, and he's dying. And he's got that same look in his face, to be honest, that young Asian man had on his face that I had to give that blessing to. It was wide-eyed astonishment and fear. And also he was, his name was Michael. He was, they were in a groove together, him and my teacher. And so what Roshi did was just sit with him. He would just sit with him. And they were on the same wavelength. Where we wheeled Roshi's wheelchair up to this bed. Remember, it was this octagonal room with windows on all sides at the top of this mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And it was a sick room. There were like blankets everywhere, and there were the accoutrements of illness and plastic bags with wires and needles coming out of them, and the nurse nearby but not in the room. And so Roshi would reach out just to hold his hand. He would go, and Michael would do the same thing. And they went through these rituals together, these two dying men. And then eventually Roshi left, and Michael died very, very shortly thereafter. Might have been the next day. And then Roshi died 2 weeks later. But I saw this happen again and again. Towards the end of his life, like last few years of his life, a lot of what my teacher did was blessing the dying, right? And as I said, there were no prayers that were said. There were no holy water that was sprinkled. There was nothing wrote. There was a person, a teacher, a Zen master showing up and manifesting his full presence. And I remember at one point he said to someone, "I die completely with you," as they were holding hands. "I die completely with you." And it seems to me that that's the essence of the blessing. You are giving your full attention to someone who is dying. And when you are one with them, we all know that the word compassion means with a person's passion. Calm is with, and passion, you're with their passion. Well, a blessing perhaps is like you're dying with the dying. It's like ultimate compassion, giving your complete attention. And there is a kind of rigor, kind of intensity, a kind of fullness and seriousness to the gesture of a blessing. It's like, if you're walking a tightrope, your attention is fully on the tightrope. It ain't nowhere else, right? Because you'll fall if your attention wanders. So this is the kind of energy and intention and completeness of giving that is brought to a blessing in the Zen tradition, in my experience. Full attention makes sacred. There is no place in Zen Buddhism that is more sacred than any other place. There is no person who's more Buddha than any other person. And one thing I've noticed with beginning Zen students, the ones that stick around in the practice, sooner or later they have an experience where they always come and tell you about it. And they want you to do something with it, but you can't really do anything with it. I mean, And it's unfortunately oftentimes followed by sort of like a dip in their practice because they want this to happen again and it doesn't. And what the experience is they completely notice a leaf on a tree. Or there's a bird and like, oh my God, they're flying with the bird, you know? And they're in it completely. The life of the bird is their life, and they're flying with it in the red on the bird and the metallic shininess of the black beak and the way it flies. And for a moment, they're out of their own overthinking, over-educated, over-dressed, over-manicured, over-intellectualized, over human self. They've transcended it. Just briefly, they're blown away, as they say to me. And it's like, it's a very telling idiom. I looked at the sunset and I was blown away. Yes, you were. Yourself, your ego was shattered, was eviscerated, was evaporated. And you were one with the sunset. So people have this experience, right? That experience is the manifestation, you could say, of full and complete attention. Hope that was interesting and helpful. Speaking of blessings, what I want to do for the rest of this video, one of the ways that I keep this channel alive and going is through patreon.com/Showzon Jack Hobner, doing this, speaking today about these issues, about blessings. I feel blessed by the people on Patreon. I feel blessed. And that's where my manic energy comes from when I do these videos. It's not just from too much caffeine, although that does play a part in it. But also it's from this feeling of, I'm actually a kind of a self-conscious person, and I first started doing these videos, I just would look at my camera and I would freeze. And normally I speak much slower, and then I listen and I'm more thoughtful in real life. What I realized one day, so I kept making these videos and they were really bad, and so I kept deleting them and not showing them anywhere. And then one day I just started talking and I didn't edit myself. I just let it rip. And somehow I got over onto the other side of my self-consciousness. And so that's been my video persona ever since. Turn on the camera. Don't think about what you're going to say beforehand. Speak as though your head will be chopped off once the red stop button is pushed on your phone, and you'll never speak again. So let it come up from the very bottom of your heart. That's what I've tried to do. And then people become my patron. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's something coming back from the world. And so then I feel energized to give more. It does feel like a cyclical blessing situation. Today what I'm going to do now is read the names of my patrons. Read them with attention and love and gratitude. These are the paying patrons. I'm not going to read the ones who ain't paying, because you can sign up for free too, and I also am very appreciative of that. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Long ago I went to a concert for here in Vienna for Vivaldi's The Four Seasons, and I recorded it with the intention of playing it sometime in the background during one of my videos, and I never did, so I'm going to play it now while I read these names. Okay, here we go. Matt Squires, Juan Luis Cadenas de Llano Bajo. I'm going to read that one again. Sometimes I'm going to pronounce these names wrong. I apologize in advance. I am an idiot when it comes to pronouncing names. Juan Luis Cadenas de Llano Bajo. Lori's Rarities. No Way. Nera Kelio. J.E. J. Eduardo Diaz. Mark Dilworth. Joni Cook. Joni Cook was a Mount Baldy student. Hi, Joni. Keegan says hello as well. Dietmar Time. Kevin Dole, Mudo Bob Lorman. Hey, Bob. Lori Lenemond. Hello, Lori. Cameron Chertavian. A nice-looking young man in the headshot here. Walter Nunmaker. And none shall be made, Walter. Matt Geese. Picture of Matt with his lovely partner. Sam Moe. Sam, hello. Sam, I believe, was an editor at Tricycle Magazine. Hey, Sam. Sam and I have a history. Eric Isaacson. Matt Handle Taken. Matt Cason. Mystery Matt. Robert Young. Robert Young. A guy in a cap looking at the camera with like the sky behind him and clouds. It seems like he climbed somewhere. Stephen Butcher. Stephen with a Y-N. Stephen Butcher. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen is my given Christian name. L.C. Bryant, a lovely, smart, interesting-looking young man in spectacles from the microscopic thumbnail that I'm looking at here on Patreon. Chuck Benesh. He looks like a monk. He's looking square at us in his thumbnail, like a smart guy who knows how to tell a good joke. That's what Chuck looks like. Bruno Borges, Cadastro. Bruno Borgs. He's got a nice little animated thumbnail. Looks like an interesting guy. Ken Kunkel. K. Kunkel. Ken, I don't know anything about you, but thank you. Karen Wyke. Karen, thank you. Harrison Richards. Harrison is a handsome dude. It looks like the headshot for he's like in the symphony or something. He's wearing like a nice blazer with a white shirt underneath. Johnny Pastrami. Hello, Johnny. Johnny Pastrami and I go way back. I think he's English actually, Johnny Pastrami. He signed up after I did a video about a guy named Johnny Pastrami, and I was running my mouth, and this guy's name is not Johnny Pastrami, but anyways, hello, Johnny Pastrami. Vasilos M. Francos. Hi, Vasilos. You've been around for a while, brother. Thank you. This is Rob. SK Wid, Rob, 60. Rob has a beautiful white beard. This dude is straight up wizard. He's got a white beard and almost looks like a hood, because he's wearing a hood, and he's got glasses. That sounded vaguely KKK. I'm not talking about a white hood. He's got a white beard and a brown hood and glasses. He's straight up wizard. Martin Clean. Martin is one of these beautiful people that supports very few people on Patreon, and I'm one of them, and doesn't say much about himself or herself and just keeps on supporting. Thank you, Martin. Rich, Sharp Jew Lawyer. I'm just reading this. Sharp Jew Lawyer. Rich, I know Rich. Rich comments a lot on Patreon and contributes a lot to the discussions on Patreon, and I really appreciate that. There's always stuff in there. And Rich is one of these guys that has a lot to say whenever I talk about anatta, the principle of no self, and has actually made me think and contemplate an awful lot about how one should just shut the F up about anatta, because you wind up saying stupid things. And he's helped me come to grips with that, so I appreciate it. He's a very smart, honest, open guy. Thank you, Rich. David Guy. David Guy is a novelist. He is a writer, a fantastic writer. So go out and buy his book, Jake Fades, as well as Hank Heals, out, I think it was last year, by Monkfish Publishing. Hank Heals. And he's written a ton of books. Look him up on Amazon. Way before he ever became a patron and we ever became friends, I read his book. I think it was called The Red Thread. It was on spirituality, mostly Eastern spirituality and sexual behavior. And when we had a big sexual scandal in our community and I was trying to process it all, David's book was one of the books that I read. So David Guy is a heavy hitter and a special patron. So thank you, David. Virginia, I'm going really slow here. I'm sorry, guys. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it all. Virginia Phillip. I'm sorry. I should go a little bit faster now. Virginia Phillip. And Virginia's been a patron for a while. Thank you, Virginia. Josh Eds. Max. Eric Gobel-Becker. Carlo Segrist. Nick Hobner. Thank you, Nick. Sarah Marshall. Ethan Lee, who has recently asked me a question and will be soon getting his answer. Mike Wright, who often asks me questions and most often gets an answer. Thanks, Mike, for your questions over the years. Tom Collinwood, there's a great picture of Tom here, nuzzling up with a white dog. Bea, B-E-A. Thank you, B. Stephanie, who has also asked me a lot of great questions over the months that she's been a patron. Thank you, Stephanie. Christian Veith. Antonio Aguia. Nick Martin Candy, whose father is John Candy, who was a student of my teacher and a great guy. John Candy and I go way back. He was always a really cool human being. Stephanie, I can never pronounce your name. This is another patron that asks great questions. And just to have great conversations with her on Patreon. Stephanie Kraukzik, sorry, I mispronounced that. Thank you, Stephanie. Brian Doe. Brian Doe is in the Navy, or was in the Navy a long time ago when they had black and white photos. Brian Doe has a Navy cap on in this photo. Michael Beatty. Thank you, Michael. You've been a patron for a while. Judy Conti. Thank you, Judy. Curtis White. Curtis White is an ultra sage. He's an astonishingly generous human being. He is a great writer. Just Google Curtis White writer, and you're going to find some amazing books by him. Novels, experimental fiction, postmodern fiction. You're going to find him taking down the new atheists in his nonfiction. You're going to find him in a famous Salon.com article where he goes after Sam Harris and some other folks. And this is a human being who pulls no punches in his writing. He's incredibly intelligent, oftentimes cranky, witty, and heartfelt, and highly creative. So Curtis, I value our friendship, and I'm so grateful for your patronage. Brian Mitchell, Stupid Fly. What does that mean? I wish I could see this picture of you. It almost looks like you're skydiving and reaching for somebody's hand, like you're doing a link up in skydiving. Probably not the case, but you've left me with questions, Brian, and a great deal of gratitude. Craig Nelson. The picture for Craig Nelson here looks like a picture taken with one of those old-timey, you pull the thing and there's a big poof and and then there's an old black and white picture and there's a guy with a handlebar mustache looking over to the side. And that's what Craig Nelson looks like here in this picture. I'm not sure if that's actually you or not, Craig, and if you've just pulled, but you have intrigued me, Craig. I'm wondering about you. Okay, Larry Cook, thank you. Thank you, Larry. Larry seems to be one of these, he's hidden his identity. Thank you, Larry. Andy Anderson, Zen Mountain 66, thank you, Andy. I love it when I get Zen practitioners who are patrons here, who are out practicing somewhere. And there's Piotr S. Ostazuski, Piotr Ostrozewski is a heart sage. He also, money shows up every month from Piotr from the donations he's making to Zen Confidential through PayPal. So he's a patron and he's contributing through PayPal. So thank you so much, Piotr. Noel Farmer, thank you, Noel. Noel and I used to sit in West Hollywood at the West Hollywood Zen Center that my mentor started. Noel and I go way, way back, and there's a strong heart connection there. So thank you, Noel. Ryan Brown, thank you, Ryan. Ryan often asks interesting questions, leaves interesting comments, and likes the sits that we do on Sunday. We need to do those again. In fact, we're going to do another sit soon. Ben Woodsum. Ben is a heart sage, and Ben's icon photo is simply a question mark, which is interesting. Paul Engel. Hey, hold on a second. So, Paul Engel, Paul Engel has become, I hope it's still recording. Hold on, let me see. Okay, Paul Engel has become a good companion. He sends me these haiku. He sends me these beautiful haiku, and my girlfriend loves these haiku, and I love these haiku. He just sends them to me from America. Here's one. Stone Buddha, saying nothing, cottonwood tree. And then he sends me these beautiful messages. To Jack Hodner, thanks for all your Zen talks on YouTube. I appreciate it. Paul Engel, haiku, June 2, 2023. You can Google him and find some of his other haikus out there. They're really good. Now, haiku is not easy. A haiku, I don't know, it's like a gymnast sticking a landing. It's like not easy. It's easier said than done. Here's another one. Winter landscape. A single crow. A single crow's caw. Thank you, Paul. Bart King. Bart King's icon is a picture that says help is on the way. Well, you're helping me, Bart. Yeah, thank you for your continued support. Gabriel Lucero. Gabe and I go back. Gabe, I remember you going all the way back to Mount Baldy when that son of a bitch monk behaved like a son of a bitch, and you and I had a talk in the office, and I thought it went well. And I felt you as a sensitive, smart, thoughtful person who was able to be with someone in a room. Like a lot of times Zen students just coming in and out like crazy, but you were able to sit down and we were able to talk. And Gabe, I'm sending you my love. Gato68, RNM Salem. Another mystery. Thank you, Gato. Arigato, Gato. Joel Stoy. Joel, thank you. Joel's a golden sage. He's been a golden sage for a long time. I know you, Joel, because I think we've commented. I think it's Facebook. I think it's Twitter. Maybe Instagram. I think it's Facebook. I think it's Twitter. I'm not sure which one. But you have a hat. I know what you look like. We've talked. We've commented. We've gone back and forth. So and I remember you got my mind thinking at one point, and it led to a video. So thank you for everything, Joel. Oh, Dana Ayla, thank you, Dana. I actually Googled you because we were talking at one point, and then I thought, do I know this person? And then I Googled you, and you're an artist. That's what it was. Somehow, maybe we were friends on Facebook or something, and so then I found your art. Fantastic artist. So thank you for your support. Thank you. Ed Wilson, Kung Fu fan. Thank you so much. You just started out as a patron. I appreciate it. Okay, next up we have Brent Brody. Brent Brody is a no sage, which is I have these various levels on Patreon. Brent Brody is he's been a no sage for a while now. So I don't want to be crass, but the guy has donated a lot of money, and it's really helped keep me going. So we talked once or twice, and I found Brent to be really thoughtful, really generous, really interesting, and also someone that kind of kept me on my toes. Yeah, some people just have a good energy, and you're like not gonna bring your B or C game, you know. Yeah, like a guy that commanded respect. I remember that feeling. It seemed like a really, really, really warm, intelligent, wise guy. I benefited. I benefited from our two talks, and like I said, you've been supporting me for a long time now at a high level of commitment, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Swami Vasudevyananda, Stephanie Squibb. Stephanie, thank you for your support and for your questions. When you first became a member of Patreon, I remember we were having some interesting back and forths, and it gave me some fodder for the cushion. You're very thoughtful. Like most of my patrons are really thoughtful. I appreciate that. Christian Montano Franciscan Bro. Maybe the Christian Montano. Are you a Franciscan? Shoot me a message. We'll talk. I was a I went to the University of Dallas, and there were Franciscans in our community. And I wonder if you're one of them. Thank you. Arnaldo Pereira. Thank you, Arnaldo. There's a black and white. No, there's a colored photo of you here, smiling and looking very happy and full of life. Thank you, Arnaldo. Daniel Pincus. Thank you, Daniel. You're a new patron, but your face looks familiar. Your face looks familiar, and your name sounds familiar. So somehow I think we know each other. Thank you for your support, and welcome aboard. Ooh, Flaming Seed. JB to Read. Thank you, Flaming Seed. You're also a new patron. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this, was to express my gratitude, because I've had a lot of new patrons lately, so I want to express my gratitude to them. So, Daikon, Jamie Gemiti. Thank you, Daikon. Daikon means radish in Japanese, which I'm sure you know, or it's a type of radish in Japanese. We used to grate these big, long, white daikon radishes for my teacher. I have great memories of that. I have great memories of the smell of freshly grated radish. So thank you, Daikon, for your freshly grated support. George Tarnay. Thank you, George. You've been a patron for a while. Lesson George Tarnay. You're European. And you've got a fabulous headshot. Looks like he's got a bit of a beard. I'm looking at the tiniest photos right here, and I get flush with the spirit of the person. And this guy, George, is shining, and he's very well dressed, and he looks like a happy and successful person, to be honest. Francois, Father Dupin? Francois, are you a father? Francois, Fr.Dupin. Okay. And it's also an .fr. Is that for Franciscan, that .fr? No, that's France. Okay, Francois is from France. You know what? There are so few French Zen practitioners in my experience. They're all Austrians or Germans, at least at the Zen temple that I used to go to. So I am so happy to see the French. I always felt like Derrida was one step away from becoming a Zen master. Maybe Foucault as well. Thank you, Francois, for your support. Richard Briones Coleman, Buddhist lawyer. Richard used to give the most incredible clapbacks on my Patreon. Really intelligent and thoughtful discussions he would get going, and so I appreciate it. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate your support here. You've been supporting for a while, so thank you, Richard. Thank you. I think you left for a while, and now you're back again. Whatever the case, thank you. Claudia Anka Tutuian, Manas Sita, Golden Sage. You've been a Golden Sage for about a month now. Who are you, Claudia Anka Tutuian? Where do you come from? What's your story? Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. I remember actually when every time Patreon, every time I get a new person, a new patron, Patreon sends me a message. And actually, I remember the Claudia Anka Tutian, I'm pronouncing that wrong, that came on a particularly bad day, and I really appreciated your support that day. Frank Rigg has been a patron for a while. Thank you, Frank. No picture, just a little icon with a splotchy thing in it and a heart and a yellow, which is a Patreon icon. Thank you, my friend. Alex Rudiokov Simurin. Alex is a generous patron, has been a patron for a long time, has contributed a lot. Thank you, Alex. There's a picture of a beautiful black and white bear in the headshot. Thank you, Alex, very much. John Jigan Griffin Attil. John is a great supporter and someone I've had a lot of contact with on Twitter and Facebook, and we were even going to at one point do something writing related, because John is also a writer. Really open, generous, interesting guy. I don't know that much about you, John, but I feel connected to you and your husband and your child, and I get good vibes off of you every time we have any contact. Like, what are these really open spirits, like generous spirits? Yeah. Ingrid Vanderpoel, thank you, Ingrid. You've been a patron for a while too. Ingrid Vanderpoel, thank you. David Savage Hart. I don't know much about you, David, but I'm intrigued. You've been a patron for a while as well. Yeah, thank you. Alejandra Gomez. I love Alejandra Gomez because she joins for the sits, and she has good comments, and she's thankful for the sits. Okay, we're doing a sit. I'm gonna put up a thing later this week. We gotta do a sit. Alejandra Gomez. I feel like you're always, I could be wrong. Maybe you just commented one time thanking me for a sit after we did a sit, but I always feel like when I do these sits, you're there, and you've got a really thoughtful and nice headshot here, and I get good vibes whenever I see you commenting or liking something that I put up on Zen Confidential, so thank you. Oh, Peter Rantasa. I just had dinner with Peter Rantasa the other night. Peter Rantasa is awesome. Peter Rantasa's, Peter, hello. Yes, Peter and his wife came over for dinner the other night, and we had a long, interesting, amazing discussion. And Peter, it was intense. It was great. Yeah, and Peter wound up talking about being on the deathbeds of his parents. Really, Peter's one of these brilliant people that also has a lot of heart. So thank you, Peter. Jesse Edward Neal. Thank you. You've been a patron for a while, and you could, like, through thick and thin, you're supporting this channel, this Patreon. So thank you, Jesse. Brett Astor, brand new, 1 month. Thank you, Brett. Welcome aboard. Come to our sit. We're going to do one this Sunday. I'm pretty sure. I don't have anything scheduled for Sunday. Now I do. It's the sit. I'll see you there. Rita Eagle. I'm not sure what's going on here with Rita Eagle. You're kind of a patron, but kind of not, it says. Maybe you haven't started. Maybe it hasn't started yet. Rita, welcome aboard. There's a picture of you with your beautiful dog here. It's looks like a really cool dog. Welcome aboard, Rita. Okay. Mumedo Steve Grundy has been a patron for a while, and maybe you left and came back. I can't forget, but I know this name, Mumedo Steve Grundy. We've had interactions. I feel like we're in the same posse. Hello, I'm not pronouncing this right. Mumedo Steve Grundy. Hello, Steve. Thank you. Tina Chesley. Thank you so much, Tina. You've been a patron for a long time. You've contributed a lot to this channel. Deep bows to you. I really appreciate it. Jason Poole, Aloha, Dude, NYC. I met Jason Poole years ago on the only book tour I ever really did. And I met him in New York. I'm spitting all over my laptop. I met Jason in New York. He's a writer. He's a poet. A really cool guy. I met him at this at a reading I did at this place called MNDFL, which used to be run by Lodro Rinzler, who wrote Buddha Walks into a Bar, and he started this pop-up walk-in secular meditation studio, which I think closed, but Lodro had disassociated himself with them before that. In any event, I met Jason Poole there. He's a really cool guy, a writer and a poet, and we stayed in touch over the years, and so I'm really happy he's here. Tina Chaseley. Tina has been a heart sage for a long time, and she has a lot of good comments on my Facebook page and Twitter. Twitter, maybe just Facebook. I'm pretty sure that's you, Tina. I could be wrong. I could be mistaking you for somebody else. If I am, I apologize. In any event, you've been a patron for a while, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Gail. I'm going to wipe my spit. Gail, the Filden Star. You're an Austrian, Gail? Is that right? Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. And you've been a patron for a while, and I really appreciate it. Join us for this sit on Sunday. It'll be in the morning for you. No, it'll be in the late afternoon, evening for you. It'll be in the morning for Americans. Simone plus Miker. Simone and Miker, you guys are from New Zealand, right? Because we've had some interactions before. You're extremely generous, a generous spirit, and generous here on Patreon. So thank you for your support. Andrew Rahauser. Andrew's been a supporter, a Golden Sage supporter for a long time. He's contributed a great deal, and he actually asked a question recently, a great question, which I answered for him. Andrew, if you ever get any more questions, shoot them my way, because I felt like that was a helpful video. So thank you, Andrew. Andrew's got a picture here, and he looks very thoughtful and intelligent and poetic. He looks like a philosopher, actually. Okay, I'm going to keep going here, even though I'm losing my voice. Okay. Danny Parker has been a supporter for a long period of time. Okay, I think what's happening now, I'm looking at this thing on Patreon. I think what's happening is it's starting to show me people who've been patrons for a really long period of time. So actually, the people. Okay, I think this is according to. I've been reading these according to how often people are, how long they've been supporters. Maybe. Danny Parker, thank you. You've been around since September 16, 2022. Namaste, gasho, arigatou gozaimasu. Felix Reedmore also has been around for a really long time, since September 2022. Glenn Burns, I know your face. He's got this awesome goatee, and he's shrouded in yellow, and he's been around since September 9, 2022. Thank you, Glenn Burns. Willie Heineman is a Golden Sage. He's also been around for a long period of time, has actually contributed a great deal to this channel, stays quiet, stays in the background, and keeps contributing. Thank you, Willie Heineman. Neil Taylor has a complicated email here, and has been around for a long period of time and has contributed a great deal as well. Thank you, Neil. Thank you. You are incognito, but I see you and your generosity. Ina Horch is a Golden Sage, has given a lot of money. Thank you, Ina. You bought this ring light I'm looking at right now. That's illuminating my face and making it red because for some reason it's orange now instead of the usual incandescent, bright white. Jeff Fedorku. Jeff has been a sage for a while. Jeff and I have had conversations, and I get a really good feeling when I just saw your picture now. You look like an intellectual with a heart of gold. Thank you, Jeff. We've interacted on Twitter and Facebook, I think, one or the other. Or maybe it was just here on Patreon. Anyways, thank you. Daniel Poe. Thank you, Daniel. I don't think you're a patron anymore. It says declined. I'm not sure how that works. If you're a patron, shoot me a message and tell me I was wrong. But thank you for being a patron if you are. And if you're not, thank you for having been a patron. There's a lot of ex-patrons too that I send you all my deep thanks. Hilla Verinen. Thank you, Hilla, for being a patron. John Holland. Thank you, John Holland. Jeannie Desi has been a bliss sage, which is up there in the sage ranks. Thank you, Jeannie, for being a patron. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your help. Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. You've been a patron for a long time. I keep saying that. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. But thank you for your support, Adrian. Cliff Clusen, Prairie Mountain. Okay, so Cliff is I think a Zen teacher. Thank you, Cliff, for your support, your continued support. Robert Piper is a heart sage, has been a heart sage for a long time. Thank you, Robert. Psycho is a golden sage and always has great interactions with Psycho. Thank you, Psycho. You've given me good questions that I've answered here on Patreon. You've got whole videos out of it, as well as great discussions with you. You were supposed to come at one point to Vienna, or am I crazy? Am I hallucinating? Anyways, see you soon, maybe. Mark Bishop. Thank you, Mark. You're a heart sage. And you're declined, so you're no longer a heart sage. It was good having you. I look forward to seeing you again. Okay, Dante Loscalzo. Thank you, Dante Loscalzo. You've been a sage for a long period of time now, since June 11, 2022. Thank you. Jake Alonzo is a sage. Thank you. Lars Morten Fuglevik is a golden sage. Thank you, Lars. You've been a sage for a while. Thank you for your continued support. John Hugh Snyder, golden sage. Thank you. Mark Noble. Mark Noble. Mark Noble is a no sage. One of my other no sages. He's been a supporter from like the start. Maybe since I did an article in Tricycle. And it was an article about not wanting to be affiliated with any particular Zen community or teacher, which he appreciated. And we've been friends ever since. We have fantastic conversations on the phone. And Mark is incredibly smart. He's read Infinite Jest twice. He's read all of Proust's sorry, guys. He's read all of Proust's, the big one by Proust, the one that's thousands of pages long. He's read that one. Okay, here we go. Hold on, I gotta check and see if this is still recording. So thank you, Mark. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Ricardo Bonaiti is a heart sage and has been so for a while. Thank you, Mark. I'm sorry. Thank you, Ricardo. I'm not sure if you're a patron anymore, but thank you. If you were, or if you still are, you probably are. Jamie Doobie has been around for a while and has contributed a lot as a golden sage. Thank you, Jamie. Molly Gordon. Molly Gordon has been around for a while, and Molly Gordon knows an old friend of mine, Dokon. Molly, you're from Colorado, correct? And maybe you sat with Koyo back in the day. Anyways, thank you, Molly. Leon Sandler. I'm going to go a little bit faster now, sorry, because I'm taking a while. Leon Sandler, thank you, Leon. Leon's been around since April 15, 2022. Karen Brady, been around and is no longer a patron, or is still a patron. I'm losing my cool here, guys. Okay, Karen Brady. I'm not sure. Some of these people, I'm not sure if some of you are patrons or not. But anyways, I'm reading your names. Mike Jones, Bill Evans, thank you, Bill. You're still a heart sage. You've been contributing for a while, thank you. Mark, the Universal Solvent, I like that. Thank you, Mark. You've been around since April 2022. Scott Ashlock, it's a heart sage, thank you. Blake Wilson, we go back to Medium, I believe, when I posted some essays there and you had some comments. Yeah, thank you, Blake. I respect your intelligence and your point of view. You got me thinking about some political stuff I was talking about at the time. Steve Price, thank you, Steve. My given Christian name is Steve, and you can't put a price on it. Thank you, Steve. Kendall Peeg. Kendall Peeg, thank you, Kendall. You're a sage, and you've been a sage for a long time, since March of 2022. This is like when I first started. Thank you. Ryan Johnson. Elliot Starks, thank you, Elliot. You've been a supporter for a long period of time. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Kyle Smith, Shuga Kyle is a golden sage and has been one for a long time. Is also a great writer. I got a stack of his books in the other room. I've read one of them and it's beautiful. It's called Francois and it's a memoir, a great memoir. The other memoir that he wrote is Cockloft. Kyle is a great writer, and from what you can tell things from emails and from messages and from a person's books. It seems like a really open, generous, wise heart. So thank you, Kyle, for being a supporter here and for mailing me your books, which I really appreciated and loved. Jim Nowak, thank you, Jim. I know you. I believe you're a Zen teacher. The name and the picture are flushing things up. Lark West, it's probably the best name I've read so far. Thank you, Lark. Andrew Makdo. Andrew's a little secretive. He is also a writer and a totally generous human being. He wrote a great novel that got published to much acclaim. As I said, he's a little secretive, so I shall not say his name. Andrew, we're due for a talk. Let's talk soon, yeah? David Casacuberta. I know David. We've interacted, or I've seen you on Facebook, Twitter. Jane O'Day. Thank you, David. Jane O'Day, we definitely interact because you're always saying interesting, insightful, and supportive things on Facebook. So thank you, Jane, and thank you for your support here. Devin Selby. Devin. Thank you, Devin, for a number of different things, which I'll just leave it at that. Corey Warner. Thank you, Corey. You've been a heart sage for a long period of time. We've had interactions. And I have a picture of you in my head with like a pork pie hat on. Am I losing it? Am I hallucinating? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Ivan Rodriguez. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Ivan Rodriguez. Thank you, Ivan. We've had some good interactions as well. So the reason I'm pointing this out over and over and over is because I'm feeling people as they come up. I see you, I read your name, and I remember you. So thank you, Ivan. Bran Flake. This is a Zen person if there ever was one. B.R. Boosie. And it looks, from what I can see, Bran Flake, there's a calligraphy. It looks like what I see is a mountain. Like somebody did calligraphy for a mountain. Thank you, Bran Flake. You mystery. Doug Banner has a picture of a monkey and beautiful rays of light coming down onto the monkey. Thank you, Doug Banner, Monkey Man. Arigato. Kate, tall, skinny, with 6 shots, is what she says. It's a nice, smiling picture of Kate with glasses on, and it looks like an author photo. Like when you really like a book. You know how this goes when you really like a book and then you flip to the end and you want to see what the person looks like? You're like, oh, I get this person. That's what Kate looks like. Thank you, Kate. Stephen Gee, Heart Sage, declined. I think that means you're no longer a Heart Sage, but you were a Heart Sage for a long time because there's some good financial figures here. So thank you. Thank you for your support. Kelly Catron is a Golden Sage, has been since January 4th, 2022. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Shoot me a message. Who are you? Whoever you are, thank you. I think I just did Kelly Catron. Andrew Cood. Cood? Slow diver. Thank you, Andrew. There's a picture here of like a demon Buddha that looks like, or like a spirit sitting before it looks like some kind of pot. So it's like an old sage in a weird bulky spirit form sitting before a smoldering pot. Anyways, thank you, Andrew Cood. Thank you, Ian Smith. You've been a patron since 2021. Thank you, Andrew. Ian Smith. Thank you. Jack Bird. Thank you. Been a patron for a while. Todd Wiley. Angel R. Puente. Angel's great. Angel was a student of my teacher's long ago, I think from Puerto Rico. Is that correct, Angel? Angel has great insights, leaves great comments, and has been a wonderful supporter for a long period of time. And I always get so much out of his energetic comments. If you go through my posts on Patreon, you'll see him. He's in a lot of them. Like great, insightful, effusive, personal, and also sort of objective comments, insightful comments. So thank you, Angel. Mark Pavorial. Thank you, Mark. You've been a Bliss Sage for a long period of time, 2021, and you've given me a lot. Shoot me a message. Introduce yourself. Craig Nelson. No longer a Heart Sage, but you were for a while. Thank you. Andrew Leonards. Andrew is a Golden Sage and has been for a while. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. In this photo, the sky is above you, and then there's your head and your chin, and the camera must be down here. It's like I'm drawn to the sky through this picture. Thank you. Gerald is a Golden Sage and is no longer a Golden Sage, but thank you for having been a Golden Sage. Andreas Decker, Bran Decker Andreas, thank you. You're a Heart Sage. Daniel Pack, thank you, Daniel, for being a sage and a supporter. John R. Hughes, Reverend John, thank you, Reverend John. Nat Evans. Thank you, Nat. Paulo Clatau. Thank you, Paulo. Monica Lord. Thank you, Monica. Jürgen Erlich Wutschek is a Golden Sage. Thank you, Jürgen. Arigatou gozaimasu. Jennifer Ball is a golden sage and continues to support this channel. Has great Instagram posts and has wonderful glasses that are in the shape of hearts, and has a YouTube channel as well that deals with great, interesting content. Thank you, Jennifer, for your continued support. Smoggy Rob has been an Ultra Sage for a long period of time. Smoggy, you're coming here soon, September. I'm still going to be here in September, so we are going out. It's going to be fun to sit down with you. It's going to be fun to sit down and chat again. We met a few years ago, I think before, maybe even before COVID, I think. Maybe it was right after. Anyways, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. Justin Kahn is a golden sage. Thank you, Justin. Okay, guys. Jamie N. Smith has been a sage for a long period of time. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so yeah, what's happened here is Patreon has mixed some stuff up. They mixed in old with new ones. So I'm going to address that at the end of this because I might be missing people. Matthew G. Mintonen, Golden Sage. Thank you, Matthew. Kale Morrison J. I know you. Thank you. Oliver Klepper. I also know you. Thank you, Oliver. Jorg Brucker. Thank you, Jorg. Dustin Frost. Dustin, you sent me some great messages a while back. I hope you're doing good. Thank you for your support. And Dustin wrote a great book that's totally over my head. It was really sophisticated and really deep, and it gave me a lot to think about. Dustin's special. There aren't many intellects that operate on that level, and he's incredibly sincere, and I really appreciate your support here and our interactions. Thank you, Dustin. David Cudlip has been a patron for a long period of time and has been incredibly generous. Thank you, David. Tom Falcon is a handsome devil. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your support, your continued ongoing through thick and thin support. David Sheely, thank you. Adam Hayes. Adam has also been a supporter for a while and was at one time a professional wrestler and is an all-around great guy. Thank you, Adam. Mimi-san. I miss you, Mimi. I can't wait to see you soon. Andrew Stein. Thank you, Andrew. Raging River. Graham Simpkins. Thank you, Graham. Eric Zimmer runs the One You Feed podcast. It's one of the best podcasts in North America or anywhere in the world. It's really a special podcast, The One You Feed. And he interviewed me for my first book, Zen Confidential, my second book, Single White Monk, and he interviewed me recently, and it's always fascinating, interesting, eye-opening, insightful. I'm always left better after talking with Eric, so thank you, Eric. John Griffins, J.E. Griffins. Yeah, I know your face, John. I know you. We've interacted, and we've had some great interactions. You've been a supporter for a long period of time. Thank you so much for your support. And continue with your interesting questions, because they are interesting. Adam Nogrady. I know you, Adam. I know you. We were Baldy people. Our paths didn't cross, but I know you, and we met once when our mutual friend Keegan was doing a Zen garden. So thank you. Greg Hooper. Thank you. I know you. We've interacted on Facebook and Twitter. It makes me realize how much I've interacted with people on Facebook and Twitter. And a lot of it's through Patreon too. So thank you. John May, one of my best friends from high school. Like A+ human being. Wrote one of the best songs I have ever heard called Boys and Girls or Godzilla. John May's a genius, and he's got a huge heart. And I still want Godzilla, Boys and Girls. I want you to send me that. You never did. You played it on piano when we were kids, but I still have vague ghosts of the rhythm in my head, but I'd like to hear it again. Send it. Annie Taib. Annie's been at Sage for a long period of time and a really great supporter. Good comments, like helpful and supportive, and intelligent. So thank you, Annie. Philip Weichelgartner. I'm trying to get it. I know you. We've interacted, or I've just noticed your name. Thank you, Philip. Edith Lau. Edie. Thank you, Edie. Tony Stewart. I know you, Tony. We've had some interactions on Twitter. You're very witty. Thank you. Okay. So what's happened now? Oh, Jeffrey Zacko Smith. Jeffrey, thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's a great... he's on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and he's always really positive, really intelligent, just like I get such good energy off of him. So thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you. And I can never pronounce your name. Thejas Debus. Thank you for your support, your continued support. You helped me out in the beginning with like a big amount of support, and then you keep on helping me out here. You've introduced me to a really interesting Zen teacher. Thank you for your support. Okay, what's happened now, it gets tricky. I'm not sure now if they've messed it up. Patreon has messed it up, and they've given me a bunch of names. So if I miss your name, I'm actually going to say this at the end, but if I miss your name, send me a message. I'm going to read it the next video, okay? I'm going to read it the next video. I'm going to add it on to... Yeah, I'm going to do it that way because it gets confusing now, so I'm not really clear anymore if these people are still patrons. There's a few more I'm going to read because I know you are. Chris Arnett, is a heart sage, has been so for a long period of time and has contributed a great deal to this channel. Thank you. James Buell, thank you as well. You've been a supporter for a while, and you've helped pay for my blooming and blossoming electricity bills. So thank you. Larry Cook. I feel like I said your name already, Larry. If so, here's a double shot for my Larry. Thank you, Larry. Leah Sanford. Leah's awesome. Leah sat with us and on Patreon when we do sits, and has great comments, great support, great suggestions. Haven't heard from you in a while, Leah, but thank you for your support. Gregory Binias, Greg. Such an interesting thumbnail photo, Greg. Thank you for your support here on Patreon. Chris Christ? Is that Chris Rossi? This might be Chris I didn't... If this is C. Rossi, says C. Rossi. If this is Chris Rossi, this Chris and I go way, way, way back to the Hollywood Zen Center, to like the beginning of my Zen career. Chris Rossi, is this Chris Rossi? Thank you, Chris Rossi. Thank you. Bob Levitt. Bob, I'm not sure if you're still a supporter, but I know you from the internet ether regardless, so I'm sending out love to you. Alexander Booth. I love Alexander Booth. He came and visited me in Vienna, and we had a fantastic evening. He's a top shelf poet as well as a translator from German into English. He's like a really special guy. Sending you my greetings from Vienna, Alexander, to you in Berlin. John Spalding. Hi, John. John used to work, if I'm getting this right, John used to work for Shambhala. We spent the day in New York. He showed me around New York. We went to the Tibet House. We went to the Strand bookstore. John was a great guy and doesn't work with Shambhala anymore. I believe you were working then for the Insight Meditation Society, because we were talking a little bit for a while. And then you moved on from there, I think. John, wherever you are right now, I miss you, and I really loved the few interactions that we had when you were at Shambhala, so thank you. Mario Zalto. Hey, Mario, you're coming to Vienna soon. I'll see you, brother. We've got a lot to catch up on. Mario's great. Mario's one of my few friends here in Vienna. Mario and Peter and Keegan. At all. Mario, we got a lot to catch up on. Thank you, Mario. Steve Hughes. I know that name. Who are you, Steve, with your Hotmail address? Who are you? Thank you. Thank you for your support. Michael Gibbs. Thank you. Dennis Valentine. Thank you, Dennis. Dave Atwater Dog. Thank you, Dave. Kim McQueen. Thank you, Kim. Kim's a great writer. We've been a supporter in one way or another for a long period of time, and I support her as well. She's a great writer. Wolfgang Stelner. Thank you, Wolfgang. You've been a supporter here on Patreon for a long time, as has Matt Kelly, who is our Zen paths are intertwined. Yeah, I always see you on people's Facebook pages in different Zen contexts. I know you're a serious practitioner. I really appreciate your support here. I can feel it. Francis Bahi is a heart sage. Francis is someone also that we can connect with a lot through Patreon, because I know that name. Yeah, good energy coming off of you. And then there's David, who's a heart sage. F. Fedrina. Mr. Brad Warner. Everybody knows Brad Warner. Brad Warner has been in it. You know what they say about how you can tell a person's character by how they treat the people they don't have to treat well? Brad doesn't have to mention my channel on his channel, Hardcore Zen, but he does. And I always meet people that way and get patrons that way. And he continually has good things to say. You know, Brad is a great guy, and when it all shakes out at some point, it's going to become clear how much he's contributed to the Dharma. That guy has thousands of hours up on YouTube, and every one of his videos is thoughtful and heartfelt and intelligent, And the more I do these videos, the better I realize his videos are. He's really kind of a, what would it be? Kind of a, not an institution. Because he's anti-institutional. He's like an iconoclastic institution in American Buddhism. And my heart goes out to him. But my heart's with him. He's special, and I really appreciate his support here. Peggy Karsoulis, thank you, Peggy. You've been a supporter for a while, and you've given a lot to this channel. Thank you. And Janet Powell. Janet, we go way back. We go back to those Dharma sits with Susan Piver. Remember that? And even before that, like when I wrote my first book, I remember you said some nice things to me. So thank you for your support here. God, I feel like we've been together for a long time. Nina Snow. Where do I start with Nina Snow? Nina! Nina's a yoga teacher. She's a Zen Buddhist priest. I met her through Brad. Many years ago, she came to Mount Baldy at a very bad time. She came up there with Brad, and they were checking the place out to rent the facilities to do retreats there. And Nina and I have been really close friends ever since. I lived in LA for almost 20 years of my life. Nina is, I think, the only human being that because Brad's not in LA anymore. So Nina and Keegan's not in LA anymore. So Nina, I think you're the last person, my sister's in LA, but non-family that I talk to. And so that's how close you are to me. Nina Snow. If you're in Los Angeles, go to her yoga. Google her and go to her yoga. It's the best yoga you will ever find. Kevin M. has an awesome headshot, black and white, black rim glasses. This dude is not effing around. Kevin, thank you. You've been a very generous golden sage for a while. Yeah, thank you. Dennis Stratton, thank you. Heather Harvilis says, I can't ever pronounce your name, but I'll never forget you and the night we had with your husband when we sat around and drank some wine, I believe, and had some dinner in Los Angeles. Heather's awesome. I think also we met at Brad Warner's retreat at Mount Baldy. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for your support. And tell your wonderful, witty artist husband hello. Diana Shane is another person that has been supporting for a long period of time and leaves great comments. Thank you. Scott Sterling has been a heart sage for a long period of time and whose name I know and whose support I deeply appreciate. Thank you, Scott. And my last one here is Alan Marshall from Blue Yonder. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. So like I said, there may be people that I missed. Patreon laid this out confusedly. So they had people mixed in who stopped being patrons with people who are still patrons. If I missed you, please send me a message, okay? And I'm going to mention you in the next time. It's not much, but I want it out there. I want to say the names of the people who continue to support me as a gesture of gratitude. Deep, deep gratitude. I could not do this without you. I wouldn't have the energy to throw things out into the void and get nothing back. I feel a connection, and I feel that there are people out there like me who are not necessarily fully involved in a sangha, but who are on the path, and day and night, through thick and thin, through cloudy weather and rainy weather and sunny, shiny weather. You know, we're on this path together. So, Gushel. Thank you.